Hi everyone, welcome to the 2021 Virtual Fall State Leadership Conference. I'm Samyukta Thoda, President of Connecticut FBLA, and I thank you for taking the time out of your day to join me as I go through my guide on how to run successful community service events. So first, about me. I'm currently serving as President of Connecticut FBLA, and last year I was a part of the state officer team as State Secretary. And in these past 2 years, I've been President of Newington FBLA at my local chapter in Newington High School, where I'm currently a senior. I also have experience in the positions of Vice President and reporter and historian from my freshman and sophomore years. In terms of achievements in FBLA, I was very fortunate to receive the Richard Dyer Scholarship and the Who's Who Award at the State Leadership Conferences in 2020. And I also have placed first in healthcare administration and introduction to FBLA in the past 2 years. Sorry to move around here a little bit, but outside of FBLA, I'm also very passionate about medicine and healthcare. So I am president of my local HOSA chapter, where I'm able to organize events and gain a deeper understanding of medicine. And I'm also actively interning at Indelible Impressions Consulting, which is a local diversity, equity, and inclusion firm. And as will be relevant to this presentation, I am an avid volunteer and also a baking enthusiast. So, in terms of outline, this presentation is meant to guide you on any type of community service that you hope to do in the coming weeks and months and years. And it should hopefully be an all encompassing presentation that you can refer to when you need guidance on where to go with your community service events. So, these are sometimes some of just the questions that I'll be trying to answer throughout this presentation. So, first, what is community service? So, community service is any work that is done to help an organization or a community that is done without compensation. And so, compensation, that's typically monetary, but you can also be compensated through like benefits, rewards, gifts. So, as long as you are not being compensated for your time and efforts, then that can count as community service. And community service is slightly different than volunteering because, as with the name implies in volunteering, that is done voluntarily, while as with community service, it can be done electively or it can be because it's compulsory. So, hopefully, for our purposes, you are doing it as an elective thing that you are doing of your free will. But I do know, for sometimes honor societies and clubs, you might have to complete a community service project, and that might be counting as like compulsory, but it's still community service. So the first thing to do is to find a cause and set goals. So one of the biggest things that is important to me is finding a cause that I'm really passionate about, and that's something that you can always do too. And a really great place to look for things that you can help out with is looking locally. So look within your own town for issues or events that are in need of support and being locally organized. So anywhere that you can lend a hand. And there are hundreds of organizations out there that are doing really unique and special work. So it won't be long before you can just search up an organization whose values align with yours, who's doing work that you think is really important, and who has a mission that aligns with your own. So you can help them out even on a small scale within your own town. Any contribution makes a big difference. So find organizations that you're very passionate about and would like to contribute to and support. And you can also just be very attentive to the issues that are happening in your local community. And if there's any causes that you think should be supported wherever you are. And there's always a way to center your community service project around it. So, say, for example, you are in a town where people don't have access to voting booths because of transportation. You can find ways to organize transportation so people are able to vote and make a difference. So, no matter what, you are able to center your community service around whatever you'd like to do. Another important thing to do before you go full fledged into your community service event is consider what you want to achieve from your event. Instead of being sort of aimless in your approach to the community service event, it's always a good idea to set a goal so you have a motivation and you know what you're eventually trying to achieve with your event. And one way to do this is creating quantifiable goals. So anything that you can assign numerical values to. So say you're collecting donations and you want to collect 50 bags worth of donations, then that is a goal that you can work towards and you can wrap your mind around easier. And so once you meet one goal, always try and push yourself. You have the potential to do even more. And of course, be realistic in your goals. So if you have a deadline, don't try and overestimate how much you can do in that time. But it is never a bad idea to push yourself and try and maximize your event success. And when you are doing community service events, organization is definitely key. So you always want to try and create detailed plans that will keep you accountable and will make things a lot easier for you as you're doing your community service events. And this can include setting specific dates and deadlines, whether that be for yourself. So if you are working with an organization and they have certain requirements for you, or if you are trying to advertise within your school, you want to make sure that you have dates so that you are working ahead of time and are prepared for when the time comes for your community service event to begin. And this also helps improve clarity for people who would like to donate if that's the way you're going to do it. And after you've completed your community service event, it's always a good idea to evaluate the successes and shortcomings of what you did. So if you plan to run the same event later on in the year, you always want to see where you fell short and what you did well so that you can ensure the next time you're running this event, you're maximizing its success. One of the best things that you can also do is getting a resource to help you. And in terms of resources, a good person to reach out to would be an FBLA advisor or an advisor for any club or just a teacher or adult in general, specifically someone who has experience in whatever type of community service event you are trying to arrange. So if you were able to find someone who you can refer to for help, it will make your life much easier because if you ever have questions about logistics or how to proceed with your community service event, you can always go to them and feel confident in knowing that they'll have some type of answer for you. And ideally, this can be someone with a lot of connections. So when you are trying to advertise and collect donations, this is someone who will vouch for you and tell people about the event so that you are able to maximize your community service event success. And if you are unable to find this type of person to reach out to for help, then you can always contact people on like online forums, anyone who's successfully done an event similar to yours, and gather their advice, what they think they did well and what they think went wrong, so that you can learn from their mistakes and make sure that is helpful for when you're planning your own event. And a lot of organizations, if you do choose to work with nonprofits and these types of organizations, will have websites with resources that you can use when you're trying to arrange your own event. So sometimes they'll already have pre-made flyers or just worksheets and documents that people can refer to for information. So that can they can lighten the load a little bit if you're trying to find resources. And if you're confused on your specific community service event that you've organized for an organization, always feel free to reach out to one of the representatives or look on their website because oftentimes they will have resources and you'll be able to proceed. So committees are something that we have implemented a lot in my local chapter. And committees are a great way to split up responsibilities between members if you're doing this within your FBLA chapter or for another club. So committees are essentially just groups of people who are put together for specific tasks. So if you were to have a community service committee, they would be in charge of overseeing all the logistics of the of the community service events that you were to arrange. And so this can take a little bit of the burden off of officers if they're constantly the ones who are overseeing, field trips, community service events, conferences, all of that. So committees are a great way to delegate responsibilities and ensure the workload is fair and all members are able to contribute to the chapter. And the great thing about committees is that the more people that join them, the more ideas that spread, the more causes people want to support, and you are able to dedicate people to certain causes. So you are able to help more people in the community overall. In terms of gathering volunteers, if you're doing something within your local FBLA chapter, chances are you will have enough members who will sign up and volunteer to be a part of your event. But say you're organizing an event by yourself, and you don't really know where to go for people to lend a hand. One of the best things that you can do is contact clubs and their advisors in your school because members will oftentimes be looking for volunteer hours. And a pro tip is reaching out to honor societies. So, a lot of honor societies require that their members complete a certain amount of volunteer hours. And so, when these members are actively seeking out community service opportunities, advertising them and promoting your community service event to them would be a great way to get more people on board. And so once you've gathered all of your volunteers, you want to create a sign up sheet and a schedule so that interested people are able to sign up and everything is organized in one place. And always have backups. So if, first, say for some reason a volunteer isn't able to make it in the last minute for a shift, you know that the situation is handled and that it's not going to get complicated. Now, in terms of advertising, advertising is one of the most important things that you can do for your community service event. If you start well beforehand, then this can really maximize your success because people will get to know about it and will be more willing to make donations because they'll have enough time to prepare. So spread the word. You know, you can send emails to students and staff or ask an administrator to send emails to students and staff. Putting up flyers around your school if people pay attention to them in the hallways, and that's a great way to spread awareness. And nowadays, you know, with social media, it is so easy to create an Instagram page and put any updates you have for your community service events, create graphics that people can repost. Anything that you can do to promote your event will definitely make it a lot more successful. And never underestimate the power of word of mouth. So, just telling your teachers that you're running a community service event, asking them to tell their students to participate is a really effective way of having more people contributing to whatever your project is. And you can also do the same with club advisors and officers at their meetings. And if you have a virtual space in your school, then those are a great place to promote your community service event. So, for example, in my school, we have a school Google Slides presentation where students are able to see changes in the schedule, just generally anything that's happening in the school, you know, clubs, events. And so that would be a great place for people to refer to for information. And then one important thing to think about is collection and transport if that's applicable to your event. So say you are collecting donations, it's really important that beforehand you understand how these materials are going to be collected and how they're going to be transported if they have to be brought to an alternate location. So if you are going to be setting up collection sites, find out what areas in your school students congregate at the most. Anywhere there's more traffic in your school, people are more likely to see things and to contribute. And if you are going to be storing all of your donations in a separate area, different than the collection sites, have an area for the storage worked out beforehand. Anticipate however many donations you're going to get and plan for that. But always, it's a little bit better to have more space and have volunteers be responsible for collecting donations regularly. I speak from experience when I say that for our Savers community service event, we ran out of space to collect all of the clothes, and it was really difficult trying to get everything together and count how much we'd collected. So save yourself and just plan ahead for that. And again, with transport, it would be a disaster if you had collected all of these donations and you don't know how you're going to get it to the final destination. So beforehand, think of how you're going to transport your donations. If you can have anyone pick it up from you for you from the organization. So for us, like Newington Human Services will often stop by the school and pick up our donations for some of our drives. Or if you have to drop things off yourself, arrange for that accordingly. And then ideas. So there are a wide variety of things that you can really do in terms of community service. So crowdfunding is something that you can do if you don't want to be really hands-on with it. There's platforms like GoFundMe, which make it really easy for you to raise money for causes that you want to support and individuals. So, you know, just put on social media a link, ask people to donate, and within a really short period of time, you can be really successful with that. And then holiday themed fundraisers are always popular in my school, especially among students and parents because, when something is happening during like Thanksgiving or Christmas time, it's a lot more festive and people are more likely to participate in fundraisers and community service events. And then look around for local events that need volunteers. So reach out to people who often organize these types of events and ask them however you can help. And contact hospitals and public facilities. So when I was volunteering at our Newington Veterans Hospital, oftentimes they would have drives and different initiatives going on so that people can donate things, and veterans who are visiting the hospital can pick up whatever they need. And so that's a really great way. You can contact a representative from your veterans hospital and ask them if there's any way you can help out or just any public facility. And then with Veterans Day coming up, all of these things like writing cards and letters to veterans, patients, seniors is always a good idea. And then you can clean public spaces like parks, just leave things better than you found them. And, picking up trash and litter is always good, helping the environment. And if you would like to help out on school grounds, get approval from your administrators. So ask them if there's any projects that you can do as students on your school to help support your local school community. And then even that's blocked right there, tutor children or adults in any skills that you have. So of course for children, you can teach them like instruments, you can teach them school subjects. And for adults, sometimes it's like learning soft skills. It's learning like how to do things on like the computer, or you can teach different languages if you're like bilingual and are able to. So those are all great options. And then my experiences, I touched on these briefly. On the top of the screen, that is the community service project that I was most active in. And that was during my sophomore year. That is our annual Stuff a High School book drive. So that year we had collected books and art supplies. And so I was dedicating almost an hour a day or two for 2 or 3 months towards, setting up displays, collecting donations on a daily basis. And while it was a very rewarding experience, I would say when you are doing it almost individually, it can become very stressful. So I definitely would recommend getting a few people on deck so that you can take it a little bit easier when you're doing your community service projects. And then on the bottom left there, that was our Savers fundraiser where we collected lots of clothes and we donated them. And then on the right was our hygiene drive. And that was, collecting toothpaste, toothbrushes, anything that people could use for Newington Human Services. And that was a lot easier than the Savers fundraiser because all of these are smaller items. And so it required less effort to transport. And then gaining recognition within FBLA. So community service in and of itself is a very fulfilling experience, but something I didn't realize is that you can actually gain recognition for it in FBLA. So if you are an underclassman and you have still some time left in high school, then this is something to really pay attention to because volunteering and being dedicated to community service does get you recognition in FBLA if you put in the time and the effort. And so there are awards and scholarships available to members who show this type of dedication. And I think that's largely why I got the Richard Dyer and Who's Who Awards, because of that Stuff a High School drive, because I was dedicating lots of effort to that. And then as with like the BAAs, the Business Achievement Awards, FBLA has the CSAs, the Community Service Awards. So on the community level, 50 plus hours, you can reach that level. There's a service level, which is 200 plus hours, and the achievement level, 500 plus hours. So if you are a freshman, find a community service project that you're really passionate about, and you could start right now. And by the time you graduate, you could reach the achievement level. So that is it that I have. Thank you so much for tuning in. And if you ever have any questions with anything, community service projects, or just anything in general, you can always feel free to reach out to me. My Instagram is at samyukta_FBLA, or you can email me at ctfblapres@gmail.com. And on the right side, I have listed all of Connecticut FBLA's social media accounts. We are most active on Instagram, but we also update our website. And to see all of the other officers' presentations, And to see more from this fall conference and from past conferences, be sure to visit our YouTube page listed there. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you soon.